Thank you. Susana Taua'a is an associate professor of geography at the National University of Samoa in Apia. She teaches undergraduate and postgraduate courses in urban and rural geography, coastal processes, and land management issues in the Pacific. Her research interests include the informal economy and employment creation and prospects for smallholder farming in the Pacific. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Susana.
Okay, talofa everyone, talofa colleagues. I'm not Associate Professor Susana, but I will introduce her because this paper is presented by the two of us from the Social Sciences Department here at the National University of Samoa. So Susana will just wave. She's hi, and I'm Anita. And now we're gonna share our screen as I talk, please. As you've also just saw, we have an audience of some colleagues who are here to support us. And I'd like to acknowledge our Dean, Dr. Luis Mataia, and also our visitor from ANU, our young lecturers, as well as our academic assistants. We're very grateful that they're here because the session is running late. We were supposed to begin at 2:30, but I think it's close to 3. Anyway, our title of our presentation today is Co-Design and Participatory Approaches to Nature-Based Solutions in Samoa. So this presentation is based on the prelim findings of a research that we're conducting under the NUWAO project. So I would also like to acknowledge our colleagues and leaders of this project in New Zealand, Professor Maybrit, Luke, as well as Paul. They are our colleagues based in New Zealand who are supporting this work. We've just started to gather our information. So this presentation will be on just the findings that we've gathered so far. Now, just to start off with, I'd just like to briefly visit the concepts of nature-based solutions, co-design, and participatory approaches. So we're geographers, and we come into this space of nature-based solutions. I'm trying to understand what it is. So up until this time, these are the 3 things that I think would actually demonstrate what we're trying to do and our definitions of what nature-based solutions are. You know, the involvement of multiple actors in the development of livelihood activities, solutions that are based on local knowledges, or what some people may refer to as indigenous approaches, and also activities that are green, which have a low carbon output or try to reduce that. With the locally based approaches, I would also like to add locally based resources, because resources such as customary lands will feature in our talk today. So this slide gives us a illustration of our study site. So the Greater Apia urban area is given there on the left of the screen, but the area that is marked by the black triangle is what we call the Vaisingano catchment area. So Tuiloma Susana spent a lot of time yesterday talking about the context of our project, but I would just like to emphasize our study sites, which are presented on the map on the right of the screen. So yesterday, Susana talked about findings from the Awhia Malu, which is the dots, the lowest dots. So we're working from the inland areas to the coast. And today we'll talk a little bit about our study sites, prelim findings from the lower parts of the catchment area. So the top 2 pink dots, Mota'a, and also, sorry, the third dot's Mangiangi. So Just a little bit on household activities towards nature-based solutions. As I mentioned previously, we're geographers, so we come to this space thinking about nature-based solution activities beyond the physical structures or beyond, you know, houses and all those sorts of things. Yesterday, Susana spoke about the current trends in Samoa towards building European-style structures, and that dominates the urban landscape. This has also, or this part of our research has also been published in our book chapter with our NUWAO colleagues from New Zealand. And it's important to look at that larger context before we dive into the household activities, because what we've found is that in order for us to identify nature-based solutions or nature-based activities at the household level, we need to constantly rethink about the concept of nature-based solutions, the concept of co-design and participatory approaches. So in our presentation today, we will talk about activities other than physical structures, but we will also mention physical structures. So the next slide is.
All right, you saw this slide from a presentation yesterday. I just wanted to highlight, this is one of our study households around the Mangiangi area. I just wanted to point out, before the Waisingano catchment project, all right, there was another UNDP funded project. It was called the Strengthening of Multi-Sectoral Management of Critical Landscape. So this area of the catchment is one of those areas, the critical landscapes. So this very same household was also part of that project, and they were given seedlings of fruit trees and you know, just crops, commercial timber, the Taua'a tree. So it was interesting because all that tree planting in under that older project, they were all destroyed during the 2012 floods. So it raises also a question of sustainability, the relevance, the appropriateness of soft solutions such as replanting. So fast forward now to the current, under the current project, the Waisingano current projects, the same household is also part of the national campaign, tree planting, 3 million tree campaign. So under this particular project, the Waisingano catchment project, so they've been given seedlings, so avocados, these are fruit trees, ornamentals, langa ali trees. What's the English? Langa ali. So these are like seedlings. It's to help them earn their income, all right? And they've got, you can see the banana trees, the back there, and the coconut trees. So they are parts of, and they're tea trees to decorate their church on Sunday, because these are all household activities that generate income. So I think the point we're trying to make here is we try to bring together nature-based solutions. That's okay, that's fine, but it's the sustainability. For how long? Because once the funders withdraw, you know, the lifespan of the project ends, then that's the real test of whether these households can continue. So I think that's the point I'm trying to make there in that slide, Anita.
Okay, So we go to the next one. Okay, so with the Vaisingano catchment area project, that project, as previously mentioned by Susana, is funded by the Green Climate Fund. So with our other sites, which is the Mota'a, can you just quickly go back to the map? Ian, there. And then point out Mota'a, put your cursor. So that's the other study site that we're going to look at in regards to activities that were supported by this Green Climate Fund project. So the project gave, I'll go back a bit, yeah. The project gave Mota'a residents and households the opportunity to think about relevant ways to adapt to the heat and heavier bouts of rainfall they are experiencing. And so many of the families, including the ones that we're going to talk about later, were able to obtain funding from this project between $20,000 to $50,000 to support those sorts of projects. So as pictured there, most of these projects were activities such as gardening, sewing businesses, piggeries, plantations, and then we've also got greenhouses. And then I'll talk a little bit about the bicycle rental and tours. So can you, okay, so the location of these two households that we're gonna talk about within the Mota'a area are given there in red. And I'd also like to note that this particular village has got a mangrove conservation area. Can you just circle your cursor? And yes, and so at this time, even the village of Mota'a is also doing their own nature-based sort of activities, but this one will only focus on the household activities. So the first one would be the one that Sana will talk about, which is the greenhouse and vegetable garden.
Okay. So that's one of the families in our study area. So this is the greenhouse GEF-funded project. It's been ongoing now for like 1.5 years. The owners, or the owners, they've identified or shared with us some of the challenges they've encountered since the beginning, since they received the funding and started with their projects. Now, the family are very grateful for the financial assistance through the civil society support program. So they are the implementers of the GEF fund. Now, the original person who applied for the funding passed away 3 months into the project. So one of the brothers inherited and continued the project, the greenhouse project, but there have been challenges they've identified along the way in terms of land ownership. That's one of the problems with this family and their activity. The activity is located and it's operated on land. Okay, now here we go back to tenure issues. Land that is collectively owned by all the siblings. So all the siblings have equal rights of access and usage. So that in itself is a challenge because you have a case where one sibling is making money, so to speak, or benefiting from the household or family asset. Therefore, that particular sibling is obligated to share the benefits of the economic activity with the rest of the siblings, the other siblings. But as you can see, these are small economic activities. Anita said it's 30,000 to 50. Now for this family, they only receive like 50% of the funding, And in order to receive the remaining balance, they have to acquit, and they have to provide all the receipts. They have to report to the donors, the funders. So as of now, last night, they have not progressed on because of these issues. But the brother has continued, as you can see, he's continuing, he's paying out of his own pockets, buying seedlings and continuing on with the project. So we've also kind of identified another challenge is related to the sustainability, I suppose, of these micro household income earning activities, because there is a lack of follow-up and monitoring and support on the part of the civil society, the people, the go-between, the organization managing the green funds. So, and another problem as well, and this all came out of our conversations with the current operator. The application form to apply for funding, it's quite complex, very cumbersome, that requires an expert to collaborate, to co-design the plan activity. So I will hand it over to Anita to elaborate on our remaining slides and points.
Okay, so our second and final household is this family here. So this household is also located on customary land, not the whole thing, from here high and all the way up. So anyway, so the particular family that is dotted red on the map has lived there for more than 80 years. And the house that is dotted red is actually the house of the applicants who I worked with in trying to get funding to fund her bicycle business. So similar to what Susana has referred to before, siblings and the extended family live close to this area, but they also have rights to the business as well as the house in which the applicant is living. Now, next to the houses, or next to the house dotted red, you can see that this particular part of this road has changed dramatically in the past 10 years. You've got like a big Chinese supermarket that has sprung up in the last 5 years, as well as another business close to it. So the family is noticing that the area is not only becoming busier, but noisier. So how are they adapting is the question. Tree planting, small, medium-sized plants has been a significant activity to combat the heat. Opening up the frontal part of the house has been another change. So here I've got a picture of a similar house, but it's not exactly the house of that particular family. But what they've done is they've opened up the front of their house. So my photographs will come later because I'm gathering the data as I go along. But that has been a significant change as well to try and sort of adapt to hotter days and the heat. Now, when the Vaisingano catchment project became available, this particular relative of mine came running to me for help because the form, as Susana has mentioned before, she could not, wrap her head around the concepts and trying to link what she was trying to think about to the goals of this project. Anyway, a couple of all-nighters, we managed to submit the proposal and it was successful. So at the moment, she's got a bicycle rental and tours. The problem is at the moment is that the funding came through during the time of COVID. So the house was built, the bicycles were bought, as you can see there, but the people to run it they've now left for education overseas. So I guess the challenge for this is actually it's on pause for the moment, but I think it's still a good project because when people would be available to run it, then it would be on the go then. Now, our final slide sort of presents the challenges that Susana and I have talked about before. So we want to leave that as the end of our presentation today. And we thank you for the time and wish you all the best for the remainder of the symposium. Thank you.